Hi, I'm Vicki and I wanted to share with you my Christmas topiary. I've been planning to do this for several years now, ever since I saw one in a magazine that cost $400 each. So this one cost a whole lot less, and I want to show you how I did the whole thing, and I'm going to have the two flanking my front door for Christmas. To begin with, I bought two urns just alike, and I fixed a dowel, a half-inch dowel in plaster of Paris, which I poured into a gallon milk jug cut off. Once it's set, that helps to keep your dowel straight. I also turned the base over on a piece of paper and cut a pattern to fix a piece of plywood to go over it and hold it in place. And then drilled a hole in the center to put my dowel through. So that's the base of my dowel straight. And it helps to keep the dowel straight as well. Also, I purchased a 24-inch wreath, like you get from any craft store, to put over it, and then start with my balls on here. A 12-inch ball, a 10-inch ball, an 8-inch ball, and a 6-inch ball, and a finial. But you can put any number that you want and make it just like you want it. And here's some of the basic tools that you might need. Of course, a pair of shears, a good glue gun, and make sure you've got something to protect your tabletop. And of course, some glue sticks. And I used a coping saw. I'll show you how to what I needed that for in a minute. But as I also ribbon. In this case, of course, if you don't have to have ribbon. I wanted to cover my styrofoam balls in ribbon, but you can just buy large shatterproof balls and use those, and you won't have to cover them. That will be a little bit easier. However, this 12-inch ball, styrofoam ball, is actually hollow because it's two pieces. I bought it in two pieces using a 50% coupon off at your local craft store. So I've already got it glued together, but you see that I drilled a hole. Actually just took the dowel and punched it through in the center on both ends so that it will go, my dowel will go through it to hold it up. So that's my 12-inch ball. But I wanted spacers in between each one of the balls, so I used something like a paper towel holder, roll, or anything like that, and cut it. I also started to use napkin rings, but when I came across this, I decided this would be better. And then I used just ribbon and wrapped it round and round and round and glued it. So those are my spacers that I created from that. Now to start my first ball, I covered this with this textured ribbon, which is very forgiving in working with this, and just start gluing it on. I get it started, and then I glue a little at a time using the center hole, the center equator sort of as my guide for the center. And I just glue a little bit at the time until I've got that whole piece of ribbon glued on all the way around. Okay, I'm going to head and finish this, and I'll come back in a minute to show you the rest of it. Alright, did you see I've completed the ribbon one time around the equator. I also went back under the edges and glued the edges down. Now, of course, it would be a whole lot easier if you just used a 12-inch shatterproof ball that you purchased, but they do get expensive as they get really big. Now I'm going to start and stop at the same place, so I've got my seams on the back. And I'm going to start by just gluing one side of this ribbon onto the ball right up next to the seam of the first ribbon, so that they match. They come together just like that. So I'm only going to glue down this side. You see that's not going to fit, and I'll show you how to make it fit in a minute. And that's why this ribbon works particularly well, because as I said, it's very forgiving. You can cut it and make it fit and can't see the seams. See how it creates just a little seam there where the two pieces come together. I'm going to finish this piece and then I'll show you how to make it fit. So as you can see, I've got the second edge of a piece of ribbon glued to the ball. And you can see that, of course, that this doesn't fit because ribbon will just not do this. So this is probably the only kind of ribbon that you can really do this with. So it's really going to be hard to cover something with ribbon in this manner. But here's what I'm going to do for this. I'm going to just make a cut into it like that, and then glue down one edge, and then bring the other edge over and overlap it. And you can see with this ribbon you really can't even see that. So I'm going to continue to do that, make cuts like so, and then I'll glue down one edge, and then overlap this edge like so. And I'm going to continue until that fits all the way around. Just cut, glue down an edge, and then overlap it. And because of the ribbon, the way it is with the texture of it, you really can't even see where I've done that. So I'm going to finish this one and then I'll show you the next step. I went ahead and put the third piece of ribbon around the edge of the second piece. You see how the second piece, how I got it to mold by cutting and overlapping it? And you can see that this one's going to need a lot of overlapping. But the best thing to do would be to cut out some triangles to take out some of the excess. So like when I see that this is going to come together about like this, I'm going to just cut out a triangle of fabric. Then when I overlap them, it will be less fabric to work with. So let's see, here's one that I just cut out a little triangle of excess fabric like this. And then as before, I'm going to come down, overlap, and glue it, and then glue the overlapping piece. This will take it down to almost covering the whole ball. In fact, on the bottom of this, you don't need to worry because it will be covered. You might want to fix the top a little bit, and I'll show you how I'll do that in just a minute. Okay, we've got the 12-inch ball finished. And if you'll note on this part, see, the ribbon didn't come down too far. That's the one I'm going to put on the bottom because it's going to be down in the wreath. And the top, I managed to pull it and stretch it and get it so there's very little. So when I put when I put the spacer in between, you won't even notice it. Basically, this is not the easiest method to do unless you have ribbons such as this. Another idea might be to just have a solid ball, in fact a solid red ball with a big stripe of black ribbon around it and a gold glitter buckle would look nice, like for a Santa's belt. Another idea I had was to take a stretchy Christmas sweater and sew it in a tube, pull it on it, and then baste around the top and draw it together so it gathers up at the top, and then cut it off, and the same at the bottom. That might be another way you could do it. But just getting a shatterproof ball in one color would be or a design would probably be the easiest thing to do. Now, I decided I wanted these to be polka dots. So I got some glitter paper from the craft store and one of the craft punches and punched out holes. And I'm going to just glue these all over the ball itself, anywhere, all around. So I've got to make it look as close to that one as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll come back and talk about the next ball. As you can see, I finished the 12-inch ball, slipped it over the dowel, so that one's ready to go. Now the 10-inch ball, this is the one that I would absolutely do differently a second time around, because this is a solid styrofoam ball. Okay, relatively inexpensive, but I would have bought a 10-inch shatterproof ball instead of next time around, because I had to try to figure out where the axis came across and punch, so that I could punch a hole all the way through so it came out even on both sides, all the way around, and that's difficult to do. Now the way I did it was to use a big rubber band and stretched it around and tried this way, and then stretched one this way and tried to figure out so it was even on all sides, and then that was a hole, and we put the dowel on the top and used a mallet and hit it all the way through. So this works, but this is not the easiest to do. Now I'm going to cover this with ribbon that has a kind of a candy cane stripe, and I'm going to do it this way and glue it on and glue on the pieces till it's all covered. As you can see from that one, there's not a regular pattern to it, but it works okay because the pattern is small. If I would not use a ribbon with a very distinct pattern, because then it's going to look too muddled up. It won't show well. But I think this one will work all right. So all I'm going to do is just to glue it from the top to the bottom. Start like this, and then glue it down like this, and then I'm going to continue to put strips on overlapping until I get it to look like that. So I'm going to work on this for a while, and I'll be back. Now as you can see, we've got the second ball. This is the 10-inch ball. Now it gets a whole lot easier to handle, but I have a 8-inch shatterproof ball, a 6-inch shatterproof ball, and a finial. And if you'll notice, okay, here's where the top of the ball is. We have to take that off, pull that off, and you see where this one was. I've already pulled that one off. And we use a coping saw to cut this off, and when we do that, makes it not only flat, but it opens up the hole to a 1/2 inch so it'll slide over the dowel. So we're going ahead and I have to get some help with this, so I've got my husband over here holding this while I cut it with the coping saw. There, and you see that opens up a 1/2 inch hole. Problem is we've got to have a 1/2 inch hole here, so we're going to do that with the drill in just a minute. So we've got that one cut. Let's cut this one. Cut just as close as you can to the ball itself, so it'll be as flat as possible. There. And that opens up a 1/2 inch hole as well. And then the finial will also cut off the end of that. There. Now we're going to go to the drill. This is you need someone to help you with that too. So actually, one of us is going to hold it and the other is going to do the drilling. You just have to try to do it as straight as you can and go straight down with a 1/2 inch bit. And that's it. Okay, so now we've got a drill with a 1/2 inch bit. Got my husband holding it steady. And we're going to try to go right down the middle, and I'm going to look at it from this angle. He's going to tell me if it's straight from that angle. So that you've got it as straight as possible. Then
a little bit more.
Like that? Okay. Yep. Now slowly. I'm going to have to to try to make this hole a little bigger.
Just a second.
The other way. Okay. Okay. Now you might get a little crack, but that's not going to hurt if you can get it down over the dowel. If you won't go down over the dowel and you've got some rough edges, take an X-Acto knife and try to whittle out so it's round enough that it'll go down over the dowel. Okay, we'll try this one. Okay,
There you go.
how about that?
Looks good. The
Yeah.
trail, yeah.
Okay, this one is a little rough. I might just take an X-Acto knife and see if I can whittle out the rest rather than take a chance on actually break it. Okay, the hole that we drilled was not big enough to begin with, so we were kind of afraid to go back with the drill again. So I used these pliers that were side cutters, and I don't know what these are called, but they worked anyway, to clamp down and cut it out. And you see, now we've got this big enough, and we did the same to this one. And it's not exactly round, but it's going to be down so you won't even see it. And it will go on now, so that was much easier than taking a chance on drilling it again. So now all we need to do is to put this one on. I put my spacer in. Put this one on. Another spacer. Now this one. The final spacer and the finial. And I may just glue some of that in position so that it won't slip and slide. Now we've got two topiaries that are just alike. And I added some Christmas ornament balls down at the bottom in the into the wreath to give it a little more pizzazz. Good luck.